Hello, it's 8 o'clock. This is the UK Tonight. Coming up, police chiefs warn that violence against women and girls is a national emergency. We'll have a special report for you on the rise of grooming. As Sky News speaks to one mother who feels that her daughter was let down by authorities and social services.
When you're crying out and not one person is listening to you, who do you turn to?
Coming up, we're going to be joined by the actor Jamie Lomas, who has produced a film highlighting the risks of online grooming, with 1 in 8 children expected to be victims of exploitation and abuse. Also ahead tonight, the head of the BBC apologises after complaints of abusive behaviour on Strictly Come Dancing, as a former contestant tells Sky News how bad things were for him during his time on the show. 3-time gold medalist Charlotte Dujardin pulls out of the Olympics over a video of her making what she called an error of judgment. We'll have the latest live from Paris. And after a record-breaking final Tour de France, I'm going to speak to Sir Mark Cavendish about his plans for when he finally hangs up his cleats. All that to come, and much more on the UK Tonight. Well, all of that coming your way in just a moment. But first, let's head to the United States, because within the last few minutes, Kamala Harris has wound up her first campaign rally speech. This was since she joined the race for the White House. In the last few minutes, the Vice President has been in the battleground state of Wisconsin. Following it for us from the United States, Yalda Hakeem, who's live in Washington. So, Yalda, the first speech of this campaign for Kamala Harris, a very energetic speech with plenty of messages there for those whose support she's hoping to secure in the coming days.
That's right, SJ. Frankly, messages we've heard before. She made some of those statements just yesterday when she was at the Harris HQ in Delaware, where she went to mobilize the staff there. And of course, as you know, Wisconsin is such a crucial battleground state. It's where the Republican National Convention held their event last week. It's important for Donald Trump. It was crucial in 2020, crucial in 2016. Now Kamala Harris wants to show that she is arrived there. She's going to be speaking directly to people there. That rally that you saw had so much energy, as you say. 3,200 people, I'm told, were gathered there at that gymnasium. She arrived and came out onto the stage to Beyonce's Freedom. Beyonce hasn't actually come out and endorsed her, but said that she can use her music. She came out to chants of Kamala, Kamala. And I'm also told that the crowd was full of 18 to 34-year-olds, a lot of young people, a lot of women, a lot of a diverse group of people there. They are now energized. And in the last 48 hours, since Kamala Harris was sort of endorsed by Joe Biden, and it appears that she's going to be the presidential nominee for the Democratic Party, not only have they seen a surge in volunteers, 58,000 people have come out to say they want to be part of the campaign and volunteer, but we've also seen about $100 million from donor funds. So it's been an incredibly dramatic 48 hours, of course. And let's just have a listen in to what Kamala Harris had to say at that rally.
Wisconsin, I am told as of this morning that we have earned the support of enough delegates to secure the Democratic nomination. And I am so very honored, and I pledge to you I will spend the coming weeks continuing to unite our party so that we are ready to win in November. So, friends, we have 105 days until Election Day, and in that time, we've got some work to do. But we're not afraid of hard work. We like hard work, don't we? And we will win this election. Yes, we will.
Well, so she certainly got to work, didn't she, Yalda, when it came to attacking Donald Trump, if you like. You know, she said given her background as a prosecutor, I know Donald Trump's type. She also said, we are not going back, talking about history not repeating itself, saying that they should be looking towards the future. That's her first official speech talking about Donald Trump. When are we expecting to hear from Donald Trump himself? Because we are expecting reaction to this, aren't we, from him and his camp?
Oh, even before Kamala Harris was endorsed by Joe Biden, the Trump campaign were almost anticipating this. And so we were hearing some of the attacks that we heard in 2020. Of course, they, at that time, had put out campaign ads making fun of the way she phrases sentences, saying that she didn't have a full grasp of the issues that she was talking about the fact her record on immigration, for example. You know, they've already started their attack on Kamala Harris, and they want to remind the American people that Kamala Harris was part of the Biden-Harris team of the last 4 years. So she's very much, her record is very much tied to Joe Biden's. And so while they've been attacking Joe Biden for the last few months during this campaign, they will also do the same with Kamala Harris. He hasn't held back, and we are expecting this campaign to get incredibly vicious, incredibly ugly. Kamala Harris is not just a woman, she's a woman of color. And you'll remember in 2016 that the campaign that Donald Trump led against Hillary Clinton at times became incredibly sexist, incredibly misogynistic. So we are expecting that similar sort of language again. Kamala Harris wants to almost draw that line already in the sand of where she expects to be. She says that it's not the Democratic Party versus Trump. She says this is about the people, and she used that line during her campaign in 2020. She talked about the middle-class Americans, and she will continue to do that. This is about serving the people and the public and the American people. This is about rebranding Kamala Harris as well, showing that she's up to the task. And you saw there the kind of energy around that campaign. But you also heard her say that it's 105 days until Election Day. A lot can happen, just as we've seen in the past week. A lot has happened. Just last week, there was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. His campaign was revitalized. By the end of the week, Joe Biden steps down. So a week is a long time in politics.
Yeah, what on earth is going to happen over the next 105 days? I know you'll keep across every twist and turn. Yalda Hakeem live for us in Washington. She will return with The World, her show at 9 o'clock tonight with much more from the US. Now, police chiefs are warning that violence against women and girls is a national emergency, with almost 3,000 crimes being recorded every single day. Well, Sky News has been hearing from the mother of an 11-year-old girl who was groomed into sending sexually explicit photographs of herself to men online, which later spiralled into physical sexual violence. She feels her daughter has been let down at every turn by social services and the police. Just to warn you that the report coming up from our home editor, Jason Farrell, contains distressing details.
Thousands of children are targeted by sexual predators in their own bedrooms. An innocent mistake online can let them in. But it's rare to hear a parent speak out. We're using reconstruction and false names. Hayley is a mother clinging on, terrified what will happen next.
It started with one boy. He was older. He asked her for a picture.
11-year-old Michaela photographed herself in a bra and sent it.
It went to the whole class. Then it went to the other kids in the school. Then it went to about 4 different schools. And then it was everywhere you could think of.
From one photograph, Michaela became the target of male predators. When Hayley checked her daughter's phone, she discovered her number and photo had been added to several all-male chat groups.
I've just seen so many boys, men, old men, just anybody and everybody.
Sending what?
Just sending her pictures of their below, asking her to send more pictures, saying if you've fallen out with your mum, you can come and live with me.
Hayley sought help for her daughter from social services. Police investigated the sharing of the original image, but said it wasn't deemed indecent. Things got worse.
What's happening sort of 6 months down the line then?
She's running off. She's going to parks, doing sexual favours. She's getting money from people we don't know. Me and my sister are chasing her, family going after her, and she's just disappearing.
When Michaela was 12, a social services report said police have been involved in exploring various crimes against her, including statutory rape, child sexual exploitation, sending of indecent images of a child minor, and sexual assault. Hayley says Michaela had 5 social workers in 2 years and they all failed her. One not responding to messages for weeks, another suggesting they should pray. And she says the police missed opportunities to gather evidence, failing to take witness statements, including at times from Michaela herself. Michaela says she feels the police always blame her. The local police force says it has investigated allegations and is following further lines of inquiry, adding, "We would never seek to blame a victim for the sexual attacks that take place against them, and we're committed to continuing to working with the girl and her family to ensure her safety while acting against those responsible." Social services say they have supported Michaela, and we have a clear strategy and commitment to support children who are vulnerable to child sexual exploitation. This includes robust planning, intervention and review by a multi-agency team of professionals. Michaela is now 13 and her mother says she's still being assaulted.
I think she's going to end up dead or taken one of these days. I do. And when you're crying out and not one person is listening to you, who do you turn to?
Well, Jason is here with me in the studio now. And Jason, that made my stomach flip when I watched your report earlier today. And many parents will be really concerned by that story because what you're discussing there is something that is very prevalent on the internet. It's images that children have taken themselves and sent to maybe their peers. They've then gone viral, gone to various other people, and they've ended up on the internet. And now what we're dealing with is a lot of child abuse images that are self-generated by children, and they don't realise that that's where it's going.
I think that's the really scary thing about it, because they are encouraged to send an image. Now, it might be from a peer at school, but that can escalate because that image thing can then go out there, it can get shared and get shared around the school, as happened with Michaela, and then suddenly it's out there and it's being put into male chat groups. So that's one thing that we need to be concerned about. I said at the start that it's unusual for a parent to speak out about this. We're not talking about it enough. We need a bit more education out there. What is not unusual is for this to happen. So the Internet Watch Foundation, they removed 275,000 images from worldwide around, but they're a UK-based organisation, web pages, and of those, 250,000 contain self-generated images. And the largest group who created them are 11 to 13-year-olds. So Michaela fits right into that category.
No, well done to Michaela's mum for speaking out, because, of course, it's the school holidays. So many children are spending more time online now in what we think is the safety of their rooms. Let's talk about the scale of what is happening, because this has been discussed today by police chiefs in the UK. And the statistics around this, around online grooming involving children, is frightening.
Yeah, well, the Police Chiefs Council is saying that it's violence against women generally up 40% in 4 years, but 400% increase in 9 years when it comes to child sexual exploitation. And again, the average age, 13. The average age of a suspect is actually 15. And I think what's worrying about this self-generated stuff is it sexualizes and it normalizes a very young child. And that then makes them more vulnerable to something happening in the real world, which is exactly what happened to Michaela. And I think that's why the Police Chief Council are talking about and are in the process of setting up a hub where they have specialist police officers who really understand this subject to try and root it out.
400% increase, staggering. Jason, thank you. Jason Farrell, our home editor there, with that report. We're going to stay with this story. Actor and producer Jamie Lomas is joining us on the UK Tonight Now. He recently produced a short educational film about this very subject, about online grooming. Thank you so much for joining us on the programme tonight. Tell me how you came to be involved in this and why you wanted to make a film about the subject, Jamie.
Thanks, Sarah-Jane, for having me on. So basically what happened was we have a company called 41 Productions. And do you remember the first lockdown that we had during COVID? And during that time, it came to my attention that online grooming rose between 70 and 80% during that time. Obviously, it's the perfect time for predators to contact children whilst they're at home on their devices. And from that, the idea was born for the film Snapcatch. And I just spoke to my business partners and I said, look, we need to do something about this. And that's where it was born. And, the initial plan was to try and get this in as many schools as possible. And up to date, we have this film in front of 81,000 children, and we're still pushing forward and trying to get it as part of the national curriculum, to be honest. Luckily, we had Peter Andre involved and his son Junior, who were fantastic, and they gave up their time and their energy to be part of this film and to get the message out there.
Jamie, what is the message of the film? Because, what's been the reaction of the children? What are you showing them? Because what we've been hearing tonight is that it can start out fairly innocently. An older boy, perhaps, asking a girl to send a photo. They do, and it escalates from there. Something that might seem innocent just spirals so quickly.
There's many ways that children can be groomed, and this film shows that. And these groomers, they can groom children for years. The children are quite easy, a little bit more easy to manipulate. And I think they may start off on a chat group and they'll say, oh, I see your favorite football team's Manchester United, or oh, mine is, who's your favorite footballer? And children can be groomed for years. And our message in the film is to, not everybody is who they say they are online. It's about raising awareness, about talking to strangers online, and just to be careful who you're talking to.
Yeah, Jamie, I mean, you've got kids who would be in the age bracket that would be affected by this. As you said, the groomers are clever. The children, no matter how grown up they think they are, can be naive. What do you think is the effective answer? Because we talk about the fact that life online is now part and parcel of everyone's life, children and adult. Having a device is as well. Is the answer more education and awareness, or is it not giving a child a device until they're over the age of 16?
It's so difficult to navigate. I mean, your children will be like, well, all the other kids are doing it, all the other kids have got it. And it's just a completely different era, different generation that we grew up in. And I think it's difficult for parents, especially, to navigate. And I think it's just being aware. I mean, the schools that we've been in around the country, there's children as young as 10. But when we say who's got social media here, children as young as 10 are putting their hands up and saying, and like 80% of them are saying there that we've got social media. And, it used to be 13 before you could go on social media, and now they've changed it to 12. But anybody can get on social media, on these platforms. And I just think it needs policing. I think the social media companies need to be held accountable and be a bit more responsible, maybe. I don't know whether you could show your passport details to have to get on. I don't know. But it's a difficult one to police, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like everyone needs to get involved, doesn't it? Whether it be government, police, parents, schools, arming the children themselves with the knowledge. I mean, you feel awful having to tell a 10-year-old the realities about what's out there. You just want them to be children. But there are organisations out there to offer guidance and support. You teamed up with two of them for this film, Make Life Kind and Milk Life. What kind of work are they doing? Because, some parents will be watching this thinking, I can't tell my child to dispense with their device or come off social media.
Yeah.
It's too late. The horse has bolted almost.
Yeah. So basically, when 41 Productions made the film Snapcatch, we contacted Make Life Kind, and we partnered up with them, and we brought the film, and they came up with a lesson plan to go into the schools. And this lesson is also available to be downloaded online for free, that any school can take So, you know, it's available for every school. We just want it to get in front of as many children as we possibly can and just raise as much awareness as we can.
Jamie, I really appreciate you talking to me about this and the film Snapcatch. As you said, you can schools can download it online. So thank you very much for coming on to talk to us about this issue. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.
It is available on www.makelifekind.co.uk/Snapcatch.
That's the bit I was missing. Good job you're there, Jamie. Thank you. Jamie Lomas, thank you. Good to have your time.
Thank you, Sarah-Jane. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, we're going to go across to Westminster now for a couple of bits of breaking news. Our chief political correspondent, John Craig, standing by. The first concerning James Cleverly and a bid to be the next Conservative leader.
James Cleverly is first out of the blocks. Yes, he is officially declaring he's going to run. The other piece of breaking news is that Keir Starmer has suspended 7 MPs who defied the government and voted for an SNP amendment calling for the scrapping of the 2-child benefit cap. First, Mr. Cleverly. He has written for the Daily Telegraph. He's published a video online and he has put out a statement in which he says he's running to unite the party, deliver for the country and win the next general election. We must ditch the self-indulgent infighting and be ready to deliver when the next chance comes. He talks about his record as Home Secretary. He slashed net migration, he says. As Foreign Secretary, he boosted support for Ukraine. And he says that the last election showed we'd lost the trust of voters. We must raise our standards and show we're willing to take action when we fall short. We must reconnect with members and voters. He's likely to be one of half a dozen or so candidates. Now, Mr. Cleverly is the first to declare nominations open officially tomorrow, close next Monday. Meanwhile, after that vote in which 7 Labour MPs backed an SNP call to scrap the 2-child benefit cut, Sir Keir has been pretty ruthless. He has suspended them for 6 months. And the MPs are Afsana Begum, Richard Bergen, Ian Byrne, Imran Hussain, Rebecca Long-Bailey, John McDonnell, Zara Sultana. They have had the whip suspended for 6 months, at which point it will be reviewed, we understand. And one of those MPs, that is Zara Sultana, she's the MP for Coventry South, she has hit back in a defiant statement saying, I've been informed by the Chief Whip and the Labour Party leadership the whip has been withdrawn for me for voting to scrap the 2-child benefit cap, which would lift 330,000 children out of poverty. I will always stand up for the most vulnerable in our society, she says. So it was a small rebellion, just 7 earlier in the week. There was talk of 20 or 30 perhaps. Some of those who said they were going to have abstained. But the 7 who voted against have had the whip suspended, not just for a month or a few weeks, but for 6 months. So that is pretty tough discipline from Sir Keir Starmer. We didn't see that sort of thing from Tony Blair when Labour had a big majority. Sir Keir's got a massive majority, and yet he's been really tough against 7 Labour rebels. Clearly wants to send a message to his backbenchers, back me, back the government, or you'll be in serious trouble.
OK, John Craig with the breaking news from Westminster tonight. Thank you. More on that throughout the evening here on Sky News. Still to come on the UK tonight. The line should never be crossed. The Director General of the BBC apologises over the Strictly saga. Why 6-time dressage medalist Charlotte Dujardin has pulled out of the Paris Olympic Games with just days to go. And having pedalled his way into the history books, Sir Mark Cavendish will be here to discuss his record-breaking final Tour de France.
This is a really interesting report that we've created, and it's using state-of-the-art modelling to understand the influence of climate change on our living collections here at Kew. So we're now going to see a big shift, and it's the speed of change. And because of that speed of change, a lot of our trees are going to become vulnerable by the end of the century. So what we're doing now, we're now identifying new areas to go to observe trees in the wild, bring back their seed, to start doing further research to understand how these trees may adapt into the future. So things like the English oak, we all call it English oak, it's common oak of Europe. So a lot of the work we're doing now is understanding where oaks, occur in the wild and matching our future climate to other areas where oak occurs to then bring it back to hopefully building some resilience for the future. It's the heat. So what we're getting, our temperatures are getting a lot warmer. So, currently here at Kew, our mean annual temperature is 10 degrees. It's predicted to shift by 2090 to +4 degrees. So we'd be at 14 degrees mean annual temperature. Now, when we get that increase, that means trees use a lot more water. The problem is we don't get a big increase in rainfall. So therefore the trees are going to be really stressed because they need more water, but the water's not available for them to use. So that's why we have to start looking to the future now. We're looking through Central Europe and Central Asia, and we're identifying trees that are going to look very close to the ones we already have here in the garden, but they're coming from an ecosystem that's better adapted for our future climate. So we're doing lots of cuttings now to safeguard those trees, and we're looking at where we can place them in other botanical institutes. But a lot of the work we're doing is to do with the soil, trying to increase the water holding capacity within our soil column so we can help support these trees for the future.
The Director General of the BBC has apologised to former Strictly Come Dancing contestants who've had a bad experience on the show. The scandal dominated the corporation's annual report today after a recent storm of negative stories about the treatment of participants on the flagship programme. Our arts and entertainment correspondent Katie Spencer has been speaking to one former contestant and has this report.
Another day and yet more bruising headlines for the BBC's beloved primetime show. Now 2015 contestant, boxer turned American wrestler Anthony Ogogo, coming forward to speak exclusively to Sky News about his time.
Under that intense cloud of pressure, in the fishbowl, so to speak, I can see why one would feel inclined to really push themselves.
Saying there were some aspects he too felt uncomfortable about, like being asked to hide old fighting scars.
I wish I'd have said no. My shoulder's sore, it's my shoulder, I'm proud of the scars, I'm proud of the injury. I don't want the makeup on, I want the world to see what I'm going through. Now, I'm quite a strong-willed person, and I buckled. I said, no, okay, put the makeup on, whatever. So they do have pressure over people.
Back rehearsing this year's Strictly Professionals, the BBC's Director General himself going on the record to say come September this lineup will not change, but that he is sorry about headlines like this. Yet another day of the dancing show dominating the front pages, with inquiries underway into bullying allegations involving dancers, including Giovanni Panice, who refutes the claims. The publication of the corporation's annual report providing a chance for journalists to finally hear Tim Davies' take.
Of course, alongside the fun and entertainment, there will be a degree of competitiveness, hard work and a will to do well. That's part of what makes this show. But there are limits and the line should never be crossed. We will never tolerate unacceptable behaviour of any kind.
A testing time for the prized jewel in the BBC's crown. The Director General apologising to those contestants unhappy about their experience on the programme, confirming he expects their investigation to conclude soon, and that despite some critics saying this season should be the show's last tango, insisting he's confident the correct duty of care is in place and that there's no danger of Strictly being taken off air. So will the support of the big boss, Tim Davie, be enough to help put Strictly back on the right footing?
I think what's more telling was that the BBC chair was also sat in the press briefing and he was supportive of the way the BBC had handled this crisis. His support for the Director General means that he believes that the BBC is doing the right things to tackle this issue.
Seniors at the BBC trying to steady the ship somewhat, hoping to take the heat out of the headlines about their flagship show. Katie Spencer, Sky News.
Team GB's joint most decorated female Olympian, Charlotte Dujardin, has been given a provisional 6-month ban by Equestrian's governing body for conduct contrary to the principles of horse welfare. Now, the dressage rider pulled out of the Paris Olympic Games earlier today. This is after a video emerged showing what she herself has described as an error of judgment during a coaching session. Our sports correspondent Rob Harris joins us live from Paris, where the Olympics gets underway in a couple of days. The opening ceremony, of course, on Friday. Rob, what more do we know about what's going on here?
Well, this is very much unwelcome drama for Team GB and concerns about animal welfare. It was only yesterday that World Equestrian's governing body received a video from a lawyer representing an unnamed complainant showing Dujardin. Now, apparently it was a training instance in private stables. Dujardin was given until today to respond to the governing body, and she did. They said she confirmed that it was her and acknowledged that her conduct was inappropriate. Allegedly, this educational video shows her hitting a horse's leg several times. Now, in a statement, Dujardin did say and confirmed a video has emerged from 4 years ago which shows me making an error of judgment during a coaching session. Understandably, the International Federation for Equestrian Sports is investigating, and I've made the decision to withdraw from all competition, including the Paris Olympics, while this process takes place. What happened was completely out of order and does not reflect how I train my horses or coach my pupils. However, there is no excuse. I am deeply ashamed and should have set a better example in that moment. Now, it is unclear why this video was only submitted to the governing body this week, and it comes in a week when Dujardin was hoping to begin these games when she could have become Britain's most successful female Olympian ever. She's currently on 6 medals, having won 3 gold, and this was to be her 4th Olympics, but now she's gone home in disgrace, suspended for 6 months. She has apologised to all of Team GB, and also an additional statement from World Equestrian's governing body saying in a statement that they themselves are deeply disappointed by the case, but they say it's their responsibility and crucial that we address any instances of abuse as equine welfare cannot be compromised. So Team GB losing one of their great medal hopes here right before the games even begin in Paris.
Rob, thank you. Rob Harris live from Paris. Still to come on the UK tonight. It was a record breaker, but was it his final race? We'll be speaking to Sir Mark Cavendish live in the studio next. police officer is recovering in hospital this evening after being stabbed in the chest at a Category A prison, HMP Frankland. Durham police say that he had been visiting the prison from an outside force. Sky's Alice Porter has been following this story for us. And Alice, what do we know about what happened this morning?
Well, this happened at HMP Frankland, which is just outside of Durham. And this is a Category A prison. So this is where some of the most dangerous criminals in the country will go to, and it will have the tightest security. So for something like this to happen is really concerning. And what we know is a prison officer a police officer from Greater Manchester Police who was visiting the prison, we don't know why, at around 11 a.m, he was stabbed in the chest. Now, there was ambulance, police were called, and the police officer was taken to hospital where it's understood he had critical injuries, but is now in a stable condition, and a man in his 60s has been detained. Now, HMP Frankland is a notorious prison and holds some of the country's most dangerous criminals, such as Wayne Couzens. Now, interestingly, the Chief Inspector of Prisons recently inspected HMP Frankland, and his report was broadly positive, but there's no doubt that this stabbing will certainly add to the growing concern about the state of our prison system. If you think it was only a few days ago that there was a prisoner from Wormwood Scrubs who had absconded from custody, and the state of our prison system is a growing issue, a growing concern, and this latest incident will really add to that worrying concern that many people have.
OK, Alice, thank you. Alice Porter with the latest on that story. The Islamist preacher Anjem Choudhury is facing life in prison. This is after being found guilty of directing a terrorist organisation. He was convicted following an unprecedented joint investigation by police here in the UK, the United States and Canada. Our crime correspondent Martin Brunt has more.
Stand back, sir! Stand back!
Such was Anjem Choudhury's notoriety, the hate preacher was being investigated by police in 3 countries.
So definitely, before the day of judgment...
In the United States, cops infiltrated an online lecture series he gave.
The significant element of this investigation is that it disrupts the radicalizer himself, rather than focusing on the foot soldiers who are caught up in the attacks and the plotting and planning. Therefore, future generations won't fall into the same trap as generations past.
In the last year alone, over 100,000.
Choudhury was once dismissed as a clown, but he was soon attracting followers prepared to act on his hateful words.
Choudhury was once the leader of a now banned terror group, Al-Muhajirun. Over the years, the group's thought to have inspired many Islamist terrorists.
They include Michael Adebolajo, one of the killers of Soldier Lee Rigby, London Bridge attacker Khurram Butt, and the fishmonger's hall knifeman Usman Khan. In 2016, Choudhury was jailed for his support of the terror group ISIS. He was freed early and had only just had an internet ban lifted when he was back online with those video lectures. With US and Canadian investigators monitoring him, Scotland Yard was alerted.
Anjem Choudhury has a long history of radicalising individuals here in the UK, and now we know overseas. So this verdict is really significant for public safety. It means that an individual who's had such a significant impact on vulnerable and younger people in radicalising them towards terrorism is now in custody.
Investigators feared he was trying to radicalise a new generation of followers. Choudhury, who's 57, faces a life sentence in prison. Martin Brunt, Sky News, Scotland Yard.
Now, one of Britain's most successful cyclists is a step closer to riding off into the sunset of retirement after completing what's widely expected to be his final Tour de France. Mark Cavendish finally achieved his ambition this year of breaking the all-time record for most stage wins at that tour. With the nickname of the Manx Missile, Cavendish previously announced his retirement in May last year, but was convinced to delay his decision to make one final push to claim that stage record. Well, it comes after a whirlwind couple of months for Sir Mark after he was knighted in the King's birthday honours in June. I'm glad to say he is here in the studio with us tonight. Sir Mark Cavendish, hello to you. How does that sound, Sir Mark Cavendish? Are you getting used to that yet?
I'm not getting... No, I'm not. I get a bit shy with it, you know. That's very nice. Thanks for calling me.
I did refer to you in a promo earlier when I was talking about who was coming on the show as Mark Cavendish, and I was mortified I left off the Sir, so I do apologise for that. Sir Mark Cavendish it is.
Please don't apologise.
We were getting used to that. Are you also getting used to breaking that record finally? Because this was the record that has always been in your sights, and you nearly retired, but you came back to give it one last go.
Do you know what? It was 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? So I had to finish the Tour de France, so you kind of... It's weird because they did it on stage 5, and then you're straight back to work the next day, you know, so you don't...
No chance to celebrate?
No, not really. It's just about... You start suffering and you try again, you know, and actually it could turn into a different thing, which was trying to get to Nice and finish what will be my last Tour de France,
So that was the final one, because you said that it could be... Had you made up your mind before? Were you like, this is my last chance?
Last year was supposed to be my last Tour de France.
Well, with you, it might be never say never, then.
I broke my collarbone, and I was like... Honestly, it wasn't even really me that was like, I've got to carry on next year. Like, it was all those people closest to me that believed that, you know, I had to do it. You know, I can't stop while I'm like that. And my kids were like, you mean you're not going to be a bike rider? And my wife, Peter, she was like, don't be there in 10 years without regretting not trying, you know? So I was like, OK, I'll give it one more year. And, you know, the 35th victory, it gave me that motivation to get up. Or not get up. My family gave me motivation to get up every morning, but get out on my bike and work and do something and put your all into something. If you have that one goal, a year's not that long to put yourself at it for.
Just one more year, not to end with a what if.
Yeah.
In terms of cycling, Tour de France, you've done that now. You can celebrate that and you can look back on that with a real sense of achievement. Is that it for you on the bike? Have you got a bit more left in the tank? What are the plans?
I'll always be in cycling. Always do something with cycling. Always ride a bike. Don't know what I'm racing tomorrow. You know.
You never forget how to ride a bike, do you?
No. And my boys crazy about it. All my kids ride bikes, but one of the boys in particular is crazy about it. So probably I'll be at bike races for as long as I ever know, especially the Tour de France. The Tour de France is what I dreamed of as a kid. And even though I won't be racing at the Tour de France anymore, there's no way I can stay away from that race. It gave me a reason to be a professional cyclist. It gave me immense, like, emotions, like the highest and lowest emotions with an incredible group of people. And those memories you can't buy, you know. And whether you're on or off the bike, I'm going to go back to the Tour de France and make more. So.
Yeah. But competitive racing still on the horizon, or are you sort of tapering, hanging up the cleats?
Yeah, after the Tour de France every year, I kind of wind it down a bit. When you put so much focus on the first months to July. But I'm racing in Holland tomorrow night anyway. So.
Yeah. Still got some more left in the tank, which is
I know what you're getting at.
Yeah, I know. I've got to push you, but I think we'll say never say never. The race continues for you, as it were. But can we just take you back to that moment? And like you said, it was in stage 5 that you broke that record. You still had a lot to do in the Tour de France. Can you talk us through that moment? Because so much goes into it. And I think those who perhaps aren't really into cycling don't appreciate the fine margins. And it's not just you that helped you break that record. It's the unit around you, and it comes down to split-second precision. Can you give us an idea of the dedication and the work that it took for those few seconds, which for everyone else went past in a blur? I wonder what it was like for you.
Well, it's crazy. First of all, if you just look at the race itself, you know, like you said, it was stage 5 that I won on. I had to get there. You have to get there to do it. And I was actually ill on the first day. I was like...
Oh, you must have been thinking, no, not again.
It was a hilly start, and strange, the Tour de France, it started in Italy, and you think, why? Sometimes it starts in different places. It started in Florence, and we had to go over the Italian Pennines, and it's a horrible start for a sprint to that. And I was dropped. I was, like, a long way back. My teammates were waiting for me, pouring water on me, and pacing me to the line so we can get through to start again, to try and get to that day. And just that, in those few days, you see that it's not me doing it. It's a group of like incredible individuals who aren't getting the they're not standing on the podium. They're doing it for me to stand on the podium. It's a pretty special thing about cycling, that.
Yeah.
And that's just in those few days, and let alone the months training, the months they're away from their families training, to be in best condition for July. Even changing teams, changing lifestyles to come and live this journey with me for the last year. I'm truly honoured and like lucky to have them, that's sure.
You have a never give up attitude, but to get to that record-breaking moment, there are a lot of lows along the way, let's face it. You know, that crash in the Tour de France, you know, coming out of retirement, you've been ill physically, you've talked about your mental health as well. I wonder if there was ever a point where you just thought, no more, because, you know, being at the top of an elite sport, being at the top of that elite sport, that takes something, that takes dedication, it takes such grit. I wonder if you ever had a moment where you were just thinking, I'm not going to get there, I can't do this anymore.
Of course I did. I wouldn't be human if I didn't have moments. Like, everybody has moments. And honestly, like, I can never say my bad times are anywhere near the bad times of a lot of other people, you know? And the nature of what I do as a sports person, the perks of what I do are significant as well, you know? So I'm very, very lucky to be able to ride my bike as a job. And of course, there's been down points, and of course there's been times when you think maybe you can't do something, but unless you try something, you don't know, do you? And I think I try and instill into my kids that you don't give up. You put 100% into everything you do. If you succeed, you succeed. If you don't, you don't. But you have to try at it. And you have to try with 100%. And I can't tell them that if I'm not leading by example, can I? You know?
Yeah. I hear that you don't like interviews. I hope this one's okay.
It's very nice.
I always find that children ask the most challenging questions and put you on the spot most. So what is it they challenge you with? Because obviously you've talked about your wife and your 5 children and their involvement. How have they kept you going? How have they pressed your buttons to get you to this point?
That's the best thing. Like, they don't understand, like, that not everyone's dad or mum is a sports person. Do you know? Do you know what I mean? And
I bet you're interesting at school sports day. You'll be able to do a bit more of that now.
I don't
maybe.
I actually get to stay out of it. Sports
You're
day
exempt.
is always just before the Tour de France. So I always have
bet
an
the other
excuse,
parents
you
are
know?
like, phew.
I can't run anyway. That's why I ride a bike. I can't even pretend to.
I can imagine you've been all right the egg and spoon.
Yeah. No, they say, I don't know what they say. Like, any kid, like, I think any parent knows that their kids are their inspiration for everything, you know, and they're the ones that are going to be their harshest critics but their biggest supporters, you know.
And now the one that's bike mad is going to have you as a coach. Can we talk about the Olympics? Because obviously that gets underway this week, the opening ceremony on Friday. You won a silver medal in Rio. How do you look back on your time at the Olympics? Are you looking forward to this one? Because you hear so many elite sportsmen and women say they love the Olympics, especially being part of it, because you get to find out about sports that you know perhaps not that much about, and you learn from each other, you learn from other disciplines.
I think any sports person knows what it takes to be a sports person, you know, and knows what it takes to compete at the highest level. And you have that respect for whatever sport other people do, you know, and especially being absolutely proud every time I pull on a Great Britain jersey. Like, for me, that's the biggest thing. Like, we have this incredible, strong sporting nation that goes and doesn't just try and win a medal here and there. We go and try and win halls and halls of medals. And you feel, as an athlete competing there, you feel the support and the emotions of the whole country with you, and it's something special. And it's also something special to be one of those people giving that support to our athletes, and I look forward to it. I'll go out for a couple of days, and I just love it. It's such a buzz around it.
Some people have said it almost feels like a home Olympics because Paris is so close to be able to get there. So I know a lot of Brits are going out there to support Team GB. Just a word about Sir Andy Murray, who's said that the Olympics will be his final tournament before he brings the curtain down on his incredible career. And I just wonder, from one Sir to another, who have, you know, competed at the top level, who have won these incredible honours, you know, what would you say about Sir Andy Murray and his decision to call it a day? Because it must be so difficult to know when is the right time to do that.
I think what Andy has showed is that if you love whatever you do, just do it, you know? It's not up to anybody else to say if you can or can't do anything. You do what you love. I think aside from his incredible achievements on court, I think what Andy stood for off the court, his fight for equality between male and female sports people, particularly, his criticism, his vocal criticism of people who criticise him, you know, and what he does, and it's just absolute love for the sport and carrying the hopes of a nation for so long. You know, he's an incredible person. Whatever he does, whatever he chooses to do, if he continues on, he's announced maybe he continues, I've done. Whatever he does, you know he's going to do it with passion, and I wish him the best. You know?
Yeah, OK. Well, so Mark Cavendish, we wish you the best as well. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us.
Thank you.
Congratulations once again. It was a breathtaking moment in sport, and it's immortalised you in the sport of cycling. So thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having
sharing
me.
your experience. We'll see you again soon. Thank you. Still to come on the programme tonight, we'll be talking more about the Olympics and Sir Andy Murray set to retire after the tennis at the Olympic Games. We'll have more about the Sports Bulletin coming up.
I'm Katie Spencer and I'm Sky News' arts and entertainment correspondent. When you think of Glastonbury, it's mud you want and music. They're going to cross to us live in a minute.
Okay. We always were capable of doing this.
Oh, they're wonderful children as an audience.
Who did that? Maverick here on the red carpet. I'm so excited.
Hello.
We take you to the heart of the stories that shape our world.
Nor have I ever struck any woman in my life.
There's this illusion of power.
Are you feeling well?
I remember covering the Oscars and that now infamous moment, the Will Smith slap. You can tell from these crowds just how excited people are for the return of Pride.
These actors playing the lead roles were born long after the Sex Pistols broke up.
As a team, we've interviewed some of the biggest stars in the world.
Okay, I'll talk to you.
Don't leave me.
Yeah, okay.
There's no easy goodies. There's no easy baddies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. Alex Crawford joining us now from Ukraine.
Their personal possessions are all scattered around the place.
Our economics and data editor, Ed Conway, try and make sense of the big numbers for us.
Things can change incredibly quickly, and that's what they have done.
So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Teddy is here with the sport, following the legend that is Sir Mark Cavendish.
But no challenge there, then.
No challenge there, but we'll keep it rolling with another legend, Sir Andy Murray, retiring after the Olympics. It'll be his last. How do you think he's going to be remembered?
Well, I think like Sir Mark Cavendish is going to be an absolute legend, isn't he? People say he's arguably the greatest British male sports person of all time. He's talking of the Olympics. He says how memorable they've been for him. That's why he's looking forward to Paris. But the only male to have won 2 Olympic golds, won 2012 in London, which was his big breakthrough, then 2016 in Rio, 3 Grand Slam titles, alongside Virginia Wade, the best British tennis player in the Open era. Fred Perry got 8, but that was nearly 100 years ago, and people say the standard wasn't quite there. But 41 weeks as world number 1, 46 total titles in total, 15 in the men's Open era in that, and just a pure legend who's been so focused, so determined. But this is going to be his final swan song in Paris. We'll see how he gets on. It'll be Rafa Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz, the big Spaniards, who'll be the favourites on clay. But Andy Murray calling it a day, and we look forward to watching him at the Olympics in Paris. Up next, we've got some football news.
This Sky News Sports Bulletin is brought to you by Vitality. Getting more people more active.
Live life with Vitality.
Laura, congrats, first of all, on being selected for your 3rd Olympic Games. How are you feeling about Paris?
Yeah, really excited. Yeah, I think Olympics is always special, and Rio's my first one and Tokyo's my second, and both I think have been very different to Paris, so it's exciting to have another Olympics in Europe. So yeah, just really excited to go there and get started.
How much confidence does it give you going in with a silver medal from Tokyo?
A lot, yeah. I think it's such, it's a pinnacle of athletics in your career to win an Olympic medal. So going into Paris, the first time sort of being a reigning Olympic medalist is huge. So yeah, it's just lovely to kind of have that medal already and know that I've always got that, and hopefully I can add to it as well.
Tell us about the women's 1500 at the moment, because it's so stacked and competitive. What is that like for you?
It's fast. yeah. So we've got, not only have we got people breaking world records a lot of the time, but the depth in the event is really, really strong as well. In previous years we'd have sort of 3, 4, 5 standout performers, whereas now you're talking like 10, 12 probably, that can all run incredibly fast. So I think...
This Sky News Sports Bulletin is brought to you by Vitality.
That's all from the UK tonight. If you missed my interview with Sir Mark Cavendish, you can catch up on our webpage. Just scan the QR code on your screen. Coming up next, Yalda Hakeem is here with The World live from Washington. She'll have reaction to Kamala Harris's first speech of the campaign trail as she fights for the Democratic nomination. Is it a done deal? Yalda will be here next.